Hello and welcome to Solar Alberta's 2022 Solar Show. Today's session is called Affordable Residential Solar Financing. Please note that we have enabled closed captioning for this presentation. You can turn the captioning on in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. My name is Mackenzie Velders and I'm the Public Awareness and Communications Assistant at Solar Alberta. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge that I am hosting today from Fort McMurray, which is located on traditional Treaty 8 territory and the homelands of the Métis. Treaty 8 territory is the gathering place of many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree and Dene, nations whose ancestors have cared for and nurtured these lands since time immemorial. Please note that we will be recording this session and making it available on our website and YouTube channel following the show. We were delighted to have so many people register for this week and for this event. To start, we would like to thank City of Edmonton Change for Climate for sponsoring the 2022 Solar Show and Park Power for sponsoring this session in particular. We are happy and grateful to have them both as sponsors. Also, thank you to Clean Energy Improvement Program for co-hosting this session. Following the presentations this afternoon, there will be a Q&A period in which you can all participate. The formal Q&A will run until about 1:15 the hour, and then we will be inviting you to join us for an additional 15 minutes in a more relaxed Zoom meeting Q&A at the end. The link for the extended Q&A will be posted in the chat at the end of the formal Q&A, and I will draw your attention to it at that time. So please make sure to click on the link before leaving the webinar. The entire session will wrap up in an hour and a half. As this is an online conference and trade show, I would like to encourage you all to check out our online trade show during the week. We have listed here all of the wonderful organizations who are participating in the trade show. To view their exhibitor booths, which include a listing of key solar-related services, contact info, and video introductions, please click on the link in the chat. During our formal Q&A period, we will be using Zoom Q&A for questions rather than the chat box, so please enter your questions in the Q&A section. Also, please click on the little thumbs up symbols to upvote questions you like. Before we move forward, we are going to do a quick poll to get a sense of who we have joining us. Let me launch that now. There we go. Please take a minute to answer the questions popping up on your screen now. In the meantime, I encourage you to also take a minute and pop your name, land acknowledgement, and any contact info you're comfortable sharing in the chat now and throughout the event so that others can look you up on LinkedIn and some relationships can begin to be formed. Wonderful. Thank you very much for participating in those two activities. It is always helpful to know a little more about the audience before we dive into content. Excellent. I'll give that a few more minutes to populate and then I'll close it off. Perfect. I'm going to end that poll now and I'll share the results with our panelists and everyone. So it seems like we have a lot of solar curious individuals in the audience and a few solar industry students and professionals. We have lots of folks who are attending and joining us for the first time, and some who've been to a few events in the past. Many of you are excited for this afternoon's Passive House Specifications session, and some of you will also be joining us for the networking night this evening, which is fantastic. Excellent. Now I'll stop sharing those results with everyone. Perfect. Great. And now for a little about Solar Alberta. Did you know that this is Solar Alberta's 31st year of operation? Solar Alberta is a not-for-profit society that is dedicated to accelerating Alberta's transition to a just and sustainable energy future. We do so by advocating, educating, and serving as an industry and community hub. Our membership is made up of over 350 individuals and businesses. We provide a number of services, including managing a solar directory through our website. In this way, we act as a bridge for installers and suppliers to connect with their customers and clients. You can see a screenshot of the directory here on this slide. In addition to our website services, we run a number of educational programs such as the Solar Seminar Series, new multilingual Solar 101 workshops, including one in Hindi that is planned for February 23rd, and of course, this incredible annual solar show. We are very proud to share that in 2021, our solar show reached people from over 60 different municipalities and counties, which you can see on this map. With over 2,000 people registered for our show this year, we anticipate excellent reach across our province and around the world once again. In addition to our live online programming this week, we also have great content available on our website from our 2021 show that is still relevant today, including one on solar PV recycling, which we get lots of questions about. We have spaced our sessions out in such a way this year that you could easily view one or many of these other sessions in between live webinars this week. And for those of you who are solar industry professionals or transitioning into the sector, you'll be pleased to learn that we've also now made available all of the past paid content from last year's solar show via our pay per download training service. You can go to the training video link in the chat to find those affordable workshops. In addition to some solar show workshops that are industry oriented this spring, we will once again be running a number of online courses for solar industry professionals or those transitioning into the sector. Our 7 courses are online Tuesday and Thursday evenings on 3 to 5 nights over 2 to 3 weeks. You can already register for all of our courses at the link provided in the chat. Those include the brand new course about working with Alberta's wire providers, which will expand upon the related workshop that we offer Wednesday afternoon. The recording of this session will be available soon on our website and YouTube channel. If the course you're interested in isn't offered at a time that works for you, you can now pay to download most of our past course content. These recorded courses are available alongside our paid past solar show workshops in the new solar training video section of our website. We would like to take this opportunity to encourage you to join Solar Alberta as a member. For this week only, we are offering a discount on our individual and student memberships. To celebrate having turned 30 in 2021, from February 7th to 11th, you can purchase an individual or student membership with a 30% discount. The link to become a member is being placed in the chat. Today is your last chance to get in on that deal. Now on March 16th, we will be hosting our annual general meeting, and I would like to encourage you all to sign up as Solar Alberta members, attend and elect your new board. There are a number of vacancies to fill on the board this year. If you're interested in applying to serve on the board, you can do so through our website until February 18th. And if you can't quite commit to board work, but are looking to support the work that we are doing at Solar Alberta, please consider volunteering or donating. Volunteers are eligible for free membership and $100 off of a course each year after committing 15 hours to Solar Alberta. The links to sign up as a volunteer or donate are also now in the chat. And last but not least, I want to take this opportunity to mention that this past year, Solar Alberta won an Emerald Award. As part of our Emerald Award, the Emerald Foundation kindly made a short documentary about Solar Alberta. After the session, you can feel free to check it out in the link we are sharing now in the chat. We are incredibly proud and thankful to have been recognized in this manner for the second time in our history. And now I would like to introduce today's panelists, but let me stop sharing my screen first. One second. There we go. Excellent. Perfect. And I will start to introduce our panelists. First, we have Melanie Canton joining us. Melanie is an account manager in the Edmonton and Northern Alberta area and has been with CMHC for 15 years. She started her career with CMHC as a client service representative with the affordable housing programs and moved into the account representative role 13 years ago. In her current role, she helps educate various mortgage and housing professionals on CMHC's products and services. Thank you, Melanie. Next, we have Stephanie Ripley joining. Stephanie has a background in project management and operations in both the solar PV and technical theater industries and holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater Design and Technology from York University. and a diploma in alternative energy technology from NATE. She is also a certified energy manager in training through the Association of Energy Engineers. Through her work with Alberta municipalities, she supports communities working to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions through energy efficiency and renewable energy projects and programs. Her current role is as the residential program lead for the Clean Energy Improvement Program. Stephanie lives in Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton, where she is an urban beekeeper and year-round cyclist. Thank you, Stephanie. And last but not least, Kris Kasawski. Kris is the owner and business developer for Park Power, an independent Alberta utilities provider. Since 2013, Park Power has been the friendly local choice for electricity, natural gas, and now internet. Thank you again to Park Power for sponsoring today's session and Kris for joining us. I will now pass the mic to Melanie.
Excellent. Thanks, Mackenzie. I'm just going to quickly upload my presentation. And thank you for having me today. As you mentioned, I am the local rep here in Edmonton for CMHC. I am on my 16th year now, and I'm going to talk sort of about the mortgage side of things and how energy efficiencies kind of come into play with the mortgage loan insurance products. Now, as much as I love CMHC and would like to say we're the only ones that offer this, the other insurers, the mortgage loan insurers in Canada do have similar programs, but of course I can only sort of speak specific to CMHC. So I'm going to go over the Green Home program, as well as another program that kind of fits nicely into this if you plan on doing some sort of renovating to the home or renovating while you're purchasing the home. So what is a green home rebate? So in Canada, if you don't have a 20% down payment, mortgage loan insurance is required from us or one of the other two insurers in Canada. And you pay a premium, right? It's 4% if you're coming in with 5% down. However, if your home is built green, a new build, or you're doing some retrofitting to green, you can get a premium refund anywhere from 15 to 25%. I am getting a little ahead of my slides. You'll see that sort of show up a few times, but the refund is available to green home buyers. So on a new build, as I mentioned, condos, and we'll get into kind of the requirements for a condo purchase to hit that green rebate, and then renovators. So if there's retrofitting that happens, you can still be eligible to get a rebate down the road. So as I said, we've got there's a lot of stuff at the federal level, right? Climate and energy efficiency is top of mind for the federal government. So we have lots moving and shaking in our green world at CMHC. There are some programs in the works. I don't have any dates or specific information on that, but there are some programs in the works being administered by CMHC on behalf of the federal government. So this is all kind of what's happening right now, but there is potential for some changes down the road. So currently it's a 2-level refund structure. So you can either hit that first level and get a 15% rebate, or this, if you get the higher efficiency, you get 25% back. So when you think on an average home here, in Alberta, you're paying probably around $10,000 to $12,000 on the premium side, right? 15% back for either you or your clients is a fair amount of money, right? That's a new couch or a fridge or what have you, a new few chairs. So with the new home, or condos, there's that eligible building standard that it needs to meet. There's the minimum EnerGuide ratings, and the way that it works sort of on that new home or condo side, it has to be more efficient than the building code or sort of a standard house in the area, which we'll dig more into. On the renovating side, it's the amount that you gain. So it's a little bit different. You have to get an NRCan, which stands for Natural Resources Canada. You have to get one of those reports done before and then after to show that gain. And if you hit that minimum energy efficiency gain, you qualify depending on how much of the gain for either that 15 or 25% back. Just a little note, that picture on this side, CMHC, we're not just mortgage loan insurance. We have a lot of different programs and initiatives going on, and we were heavily involved in, building of equilibrium and net zero homes, and that's just a picture of one, the Echo Haven in Calgary. So here's the standard certifications that if the home, so this is like a actual standalone home, if it is built to these programs, you automatically will qualify for the rebate. And I'll get into, it's really easy to apply either yourself or for your clients to apply. But these are the programs. So LEEDS, EnerStar or Energy Star, Nova Climate. Some of them are specific, like Efficiency Manitoba to Manitoba, but these are the ones that are going to get you 15% back. And then the R2000 and Net Zero is going to get you that higher rebate of 25% back. All this information is on our website as well. If you just go to cmhc.ca/green home, there'll be a slide. You don't have to memorize that quite yet. So this kind of gets into the EnerGuide rating. So as you can see, a typical, if you look at that first rating under the one, a typical new house, and this is just like everything's fitting nicely into a box so it works well. But a typical new house in this area is coming in at 100 gigajoules per year. Now, the home that you're looking at purchasing has to be 15% lower than the typical home in the new area. So there's not a black or white number that blankets to every space in Canada. It's sort of for that area and what the EnerGuide's kind of taking into factors. So this one would qualify for a 15% rebate because it's 15% lower than a typical new home. The one below, again, everything's fitting nicely into a box to get that second tier. So this is for, sorry, I should go back a little bit. These examples are for ones that aren't built by those programs to just automatically get you those rebates. But sometimes, smaller builders and there's different opportunities where they're providing these ratings and guides. So this would be if they're not built to that. However, they are either 15 or 40% lower than the typical home in that area. It would still also qualify for that refund on the mortgage loan insurance premiums. So when it comes to a condo, it's a little different, right? Because there's multi-units in one building. Again, so there's that, the building's designed to be either 20% more efficient than what the applicable building code for that area is, or to get that 25%, the building would need to be more energy efficient and than the building code for that particular area. Again, if they're built green or LEEDs, it just automatically is that standard certification. And then, as mentioned, against the code, if they are more efficient than 20% more efficient, they're going to get the 15% back. So when it comes to, as I said, it's a little bit different when you're buying an existing home and you want to do some renovating under the energy efficient side of things. So there's a lot of prongs to this, and I really recommend reaching out to a mortgage professional or your lender to kind of get into the nitty gritty, or our website, because it's hard to remember all this, especially when you're buying a house. But I'll get into what's called a purchase plus improvement product just in a second here. But when you're doing renos and you buy a home and you have to pay mortgage loan insurance for them, this refund, you have up to 2 years to be able to apply for it. So you don't have to buy a house and do a whole bunch of renos right away in order to get some of that premium that you paid back. You've got 2 years from that time of purchase to kind of work through. And this is what you're looking for. You need to get so like I said, it's sort of complicated, but if the pre-retrofit rating is less than 55, to get 15% back, you have to have a 10-point gain or 20-point gain to get 25%. If the pre-retrofit rating is 55 or higher, so it's already kind of a little more efficient and whatnot, it's a little bit less requirements. You only need a gain of 5 to get 15% or 10 to get that 25%. So In saying that, with that refund, you can also look into, oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you can look into adding those renovations, and they don't have to just be green, but of course, the more green, I'm sure everybody on this panel and with the Solar Association knows that there's just going to be future benefits and gains for that. So this just kind of goes into, again, those minimum gains. And this is the pre-retrofit rating versus the, sorry, did it go into, it is, I apologize. It did the old EnerGuide rating and then now the new EnerGuide rating. So this is probably the one that's more prevalent is, if it's showing at 200 or higher, you need to have a decrease of 45 gigajoules. If it's showing less than 200, it has to be at least a 20 gigajoule decrease that year. So like I said, there's different nuances, but really the whole spirit in my presentation today is just to plant the seed to know that there's opportunities to get additional, money back when you do have an insured mortgage, and, being able to elevate the green benefits as well as the monetary benefits. And when you look at this, I said 12,000. So it's giving you, in this example, someone who's buying a home for $340,000, they're doing 5% down, and it's a 4% premium. So if they choose to do the renovating or purchasing. And now one more thing I want to throw out with the rebate is that on a new home, anyone who buys and sells that new home within the first 5 years can, if it's built to one of those programs or fit and qualified, anyone who purchases the home within the next 5 years would be getting the different levels of rebates. So it's a good conversation to have. It's a good thing to understand, because most people are going on the high ratio side, so insuring their mortgages. And when you look at the potential money that you can have back, right, that's always a bonus. So I've kind of alluded quickly to this product, and I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty and the specifics on the lending side, but I wanted to bring up our Purchase Plus Improvement product. And again, all the lenders and insurers have a product similar to this, because most people, whether you're looking into buying a home or your client is, about 70% of people are planning to renovate. And especially in this day and age, why not do some green and energy efficient renovating while you're doing it? Now, this product that I'm speaking of, the Purchase Plus Improvements or the improvement product, 32% of the general public didn't realize that they can add those improvement and renovation costs to their home. And then if they are green and they meet those sort of green requirements, they can get that 15 or 25% back. So the improvement product's nice. Now, it's not a fit for everyone, but it's a good discussion to have with your mortgage lender or professional, because you're able to tie those improvement costs into the mortgage, and all the lending and the numbers are based on that as improved value. So people are able to get the renovations done a little bit quicker. It's all tied into one mortgage payment, right? You'll never get an interest rate right now lower than a mortgage rate. So you're paying low interest on this money to do the renovations and increase the value of your home. We have different requirements. It's, again, this is something that a mortgage professional can kind of get into the more specifics, but we don't have any, it's a really flexible product. We don't have a maximum or minimum for the value. It's just if it goes over 10% of that as improved value, we have to have the lender pay it out in draws. However, if it's a smaller scale, it can just be done as a single advance. And again, it's a great way, if you're interested in going green and doing those types of renovations, it's a great way to kind of tie it all in at once. So I know I've gone over a lot of info. I've mentioned this website, cmhc.ca/greenhome is where you will be able to find, it's a very easy process to apply for the refund. You just have to have your mortgage fund have applied and for a mortgage and been approved through CMHC and paid premiums or the other guys. And you just fill out a form showing that you meet the green home requirements, and we cut the check directly to the borrower. We also have some additional information if you just go to cmhc.ca/green, just sort of on our different green objectives and whatnot. There's a great section 2 on sustainability. And again, you just / to sustainability. I can send out all these links to Solar Alberta, and they'll be able to get them out to you. We have our site really is full as the National Housing Agency of all kinds of data, whether it's fact sheets, housing market stuff, how to home buy and renovate, you know, taking that extra step and just making sure you've got all your ducks in a row when it comes to renovating, so you don't have any surprises at the end, or that step-by-step home buying. So if you're at the beginning inception point of buying a home, or your client is, this guide helps kind of walk you through everything A to Z on purchasing a home. So in saying that, there is my contact information. I want to thank you guys for your attention. I guess I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie now, and all the questions, if anyone has any, you know, we'll go in the end, and I'll be there for that side Q&A, the more Q&A at the end of this. Sorry. Anyways, pass it on to you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thanks, Melanie. Sorry, my when I shared my screen, all of my controls moved to the other screen, so I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. There we go. Now we're good to go. Thanks so much, and thank you to everyone for joining us from the various locations that you are in Alberta and across the country, possibly other places as well. I'm joining you all from Treaty 7 territory today in Calgary, and I'll be presenting on the Clean Energy Improvement Program, or CEIP, as we like to call it, and as I will be referring to it as in this presentation. It's a new financing tool in Alberta for renewable energy and energy efficiency upgrades on private property. So this financing option in today's context would be available to property owners looking to take advantage of the microgeneration regulation in Alberta, which allows properties to produce renewable energy to offset their current electricity use. So you can put solar, in this case, on your property or on your home, and offset the electricity that you're currently using with renewable electricity. So but firstly, just a little bit about the organization where I work. So Alberta Municipalities is the official program administrator for CEIP in Alberta. We are a not-for-profit association that's been serving Alberta municipalities since 1905 and represent and provide services to municipalities where over 85% of Albertans live. So our towns, villages, summer villages, cities, and specialized municipalities mostly. And the Sustainability Services Department, which is the team that I'm on at Alberta Municipalities, is home to the Clean Energy Improvement Program, or CEIP, and also the Municipal Climate Change Action Center, which provides funding and capacity building programs for municipalities, nonprofits, and school boards as well. So CEIP itself, what is CEIP? This might be a refresher for anyone that attended the commercial session earlier in the week, but for those of you that are new to the program, CEIP is Alberta's PACE program, or Property Assessed Clean Energy. Now, PACE programs leverage the security and stability of the municipal property tax system to support a property owner's repayments for clean energy improvements. So ultimately, it's a market-based financing tool that helps increase the uptake of renewable energy and energy efficiency installations. Through CEIP, property owners borrow funds from their municipality to pay for the upgrades on their properties, and then they pay the money back over time through their municipal property tax bill. It's a program that has proven successful in many other jurisdictions in the US and in Canada. US programs, as an example, have had over $8 billion in investment in their residential and commercial PACE programs to date. And they've been running a little longer than the ones in Canada. The way that CEIP is different than other financial instruments, and the biggest difference here is that the repayment mechanism, so that clean energy improvement tax that would show up on your tax bill, is tied to the property and not the property owner. And so when the property owner sells their home, the new owner takes over that CEIP repayment and also the benefits from the energy cost savings that they're going to see from their upgrades. So the big thing here is this often reduces the concern that people have in that high upfront cost to some of these upgrades. They don't know how long they're going to be in their home. They don't know if they're going to see that repayment period. So this way you get to enjoy the benefits and pay for them while you're living there. And then the next owner continues to do the same. So CEIP is ultimately a municipal program. In order to access this, so municipalities choose whether they will offer the program within their boundaries. So a municipality would opt in by passing a CEIP bylaw and then working with the team at Alberta Municipalities to develop and launch their CEIP program. And they contract us to do the administrative work for them. So PACE style programs have existed in Toronto and Nova Scotia specifically for nearly 10 years now, but until recently, they weren't widely adopted in other places in Canada. And so part of the reason for that was that usually the provincial legislation didn't exist to allow them to occur. So in recent years, provincial governments have created legislation to allow PACE style programs to operate. And the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has also launched a loan and grant program to help municipalities capitalize these programs and cover the administrative costs of the programs as well. So these two factors have really created what we're seeing as kind of a PACE wave across the country, with many more municipalities developing and launching PACE programs, including many in Alberta, which we'll get to here in just a minute. So just as an example, a couple of the Canadian success stories, as mentioned, Toronto and Nova Scotia have had programs running for a few years. HELP, or the Home Energy Loan Program in Toronto, has been operating since 2014, and it's supported more than 200 energy efficiency and renewable energy projects to date. In Nova Scotia, they have Halifax Solar City, which is specific to solar PV projects, and that's been running since 2013. And it's been very successful with high demand, and they've financed over 800 projects to date. The Clean Energy Foundation also offers a similar style PACE programming, but for other jurisdictions in Nova Scotia. So there are 9 other municipalities offering this kind of financing to their residents for energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades as well. All 3 programs, or all, I guess, 9, 10, 11, almost a dozen programs have been really successful, and we're really happy to see these programs coming into more municipalities in Canada. So Alberta specifically, for those of you that are within our Alberta boundaries, a bit of an update on where we're at here. Municipalities in Alberta are embracing Seep in a big way. So over 30 of them are currently working with us at Alberta municipalities at various stages of bylaw and program development. Programs have been launched already in the town of Rocky Mountain House and the town of Devon, and they're both accepting applications for financing. And the city of Edmonton, Seep is expected to launch within the next few weeks. So Q1 of 2022, we'll see the Seep program launch in Edmonton. Municipalities listed at the bottom of this slide have passed Seep enabling bylaws, and they're working with us on their program design. So we would expect them to launch their programs later in 2022 and into 2023. And then there's a number of others that are working on bylaws right now. So over the next few years, we'll see many more municipalities start to offer this program in Alberta. The Seep legislation in Alberta does state that all upgrades financed through Seep must be listed on the residential upgrades list on the program website, and that all contractors working on Seep projects have to be qualified contractors that are also listed on our website. So you'll see on the right hand of this slide, it just notes that at myseep.ca, you can get access to both of these lists. So the eligible residential upgrade list and the qualified contractors list are both there if you're interested in checking out what's eligible and who can perform work on Seep projects from a contractor's perspective. So there are a wide range of upgrades that are eligible for the program that are on that list that I just mentioned, including both energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades like solar PV. So there's some examples here. Ultimately, the criteria are that they must increase the energy efficiency or the use of renewable energy on the property, and they must be permanently affixed to the property. So they can't be things like a stove or an appliance of some kind that you could take with you when you move. It needs to be permanently affixed to the property. The financing limits per project are defined ultimately in the legislation that was set by the government of Alberta. But municipalities do have the ability to lower these maximums, and you can see them here. For residential properties, it's $50,000 set out in the legislation for capital costs of the project, and there is a legislated minimum of $3,000. So anywhere between $3,000 and $50,000 is typically what you would be eligible to finance through the program. There is also a full list of eligible residential upgrades at myseep.ca, as I mentioned earlier. So you can have a look there to see whether what you're thinking about is eligible. I can confirm now that solar PV is in fact on that eligibility list. So Seep financing is an excellent choice for those looking to install solar who might have that high upfront cost as a bit of a barrier. So if you as the property owner and your property are eligible to participate and your municipality has an active program, you can apply to finance up to 100% of the cost of your solar project. Both the project capital cost and some incidental costs can be financed as well. So incidental costs would be something that's not directly related to the installation of the upgrade, but would be required to be able to complete the upgrade. So as an example, if you were going to do a solar PV installation and you needed to do a few roof repairs first, that would be an incidental cost, and you could finance that through the program as well. The financing for incidentals is capped at 15% of the project capital cost. So just something to note, but it is possible to finance more than just the upgrade itself. Because the term of the financing is directly connected to the effective useful life or the expected lifetime of the upgrade, solar financing terms are typically quite long, so they're 20 to 25 years, making the annual payments lower than with shorter term loans. So say if you got a loan for 10 years, you're obviously going to be paying more per year. So this just helps make the financing a little more affordable over the long term. So this is the big slide. How does it work for residential property owners? So I'm going to try and not spend too much time here, but if you do have questions, I'm happy to answer them in the chat or through the chat or the Q&A after, or you can contact us for more information. So initially a property owner would complete the pre-qualification form on our website. We'll check to make sure the property and the property owner are both eligible. And if they're eligible, then we would encourage them to move on to the application stage. So before actually submitting an application, the property owner would select a registered NRCan energy advisor to complete a home energy evaluation. So not dissimilar to what Melanie was speaking about in some of their programs. It is a requirement to have that home energy evaluation done before you start your project. This ultimately helps identify the most cost-effective energy related upgrades that are needed in the home. So your most bang for buck ultimately. And with this information, you can then go and choose what upgrades you want to complete and which ones you want to finance through the program. Find a qualified contractor to do that work. So you can go to the website, myseep.ca, to select a contractor, or if you already have one in mind who isn't on that list yet, they can become a qualified contractor before you submit your application by applying on the website as well. Alberta Municipalities does recommend that you get at least 3 quotes from different contractors during that quoting process, just to make sure you're doing your due diligence. So once you have all your quotes and you've selected your upgrades and you know what you want to do, then you would send in your application to apply for financing. And this would be submitting the project application form, which has all your project details, your contractor details, and everything else. We'll review it. And if you're eligible, then we would send you some agreements to sign. So you would sign the Clean Energy Improvement Agreement or the financing agreement with your municipality to actually secure that financing. And then you'd sign the project agreement, which is ultimately the service agreement between your qualified contractor, Alberta municipalities, and you, saying what the details of the project you're going to complete. Once those are signed, then we'll notify you that you can start on your project. So it is important to note that until you receive that notification that you can start, you cannot start on your project. So this isn't a retroactive financing option. It is only for projects that you haven't done yet. And then so you go on your way, do your upgrades. Once you're done, you submit some upgrade completion information to us. We'll verify that everything is correct. And then the municipality would then take that information, put it on your property tax roll, and you start repaying through your property taxes. It is also important to note that in between that completion stage and it getting on your property taxes, you do need to complete a post-project home energy evaluation through that same energy advisor that you had do your pre-project one. So you can verify the energy savings that you're going to see through that project. So that's sort of the process in a nutshell. And then we often get questions as well about how this works for contractors. And I know we have some solar professionals in the audience today. So to be eligible for Seep financing, as I'd mentioned, all work completed as part of a Seep project must be completed by a contractor that's listed on the qualified contractor directory. And so if you're a contractor and you're not yet on that directory, please head to myseep.ca/contractor. You can find out all the information you need to sign up there. And then complete the online application form. Once your application is reviewed, you'd be sent a link for a short video onboarding session. Once you complete this, then there's a short quiz. Don't worry, it doesn't require hours of studying. It's intended to be quite straightforward. It's just confirming that you understood the information you received. And then once you've passed that quiz, your business would appear on the directory and you're listed as a qualified contractor for the Seep program. You're welcome to move forward in completing Seep projects. So that's sort of in a nutshell, how do I become a qualified contractor? And then ultimately, this is the other piece. What if your municipality doesn't have Seep yet? So if you'd like to participate and you're not on that list of municipalities that I was mentioning earlier, it's worth reaching out to your municipal officials to check and see if they plan to launch Seep. It's possible that they're working on bylaws right now and that they do intend to actually launch the program. If it's just not on their radar yet and they'd like to know more information, please feel free to put them in touch with us. So we have Seep 101 sessions really regularly for municipalities to give them all the information they need to start moving forward with this program if it's something they're interested in. So and then from that stage, I would recommend that you sign up for our newsletter, follow us on social media, where there'll be regular updates on when programs launch in new municipalities and other program information as well. So if you do have questions, I would encourage you beyond today, if we're not able to answer everything in the chat, I'd encourage you to go to hello@myseep.ca, send us an email, head to myseep.ca as well as the website. There's lots of information there. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have that maybe we don't get to today. So there will be time at the end for additional questions, and I'm going to pass it on to Kris right now to talk to you a little bit about Park Power. Take it away, Kris.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, like Stephanie said, if you contact your municipality, contact your local councillor and tell them to install Seep in your municipality, and they won't forget it or won't regret it. So here we go. Now that you've kind of come along the process, you've learned about some initial financing options, and you have got your pre-energy audit and you're going to get solar on your roof, well, then you sort of have to think about, well, my presentation today is going to talk about what happens afterwards. So what specifically, more for photovoltaic solar PV systems, when you become a micro generator, what you should be doing and how you should be thinking as a producer as well as a consumer on the electricity grid. So what Park Power is, Park Power, we are a utility provider. So electricity, natural gas, and internet for your home and business and farms. Today I'll speak specifically to the electricity side of it, but we're pretty excited about the growth of solar in Alberta. Before I launched Park Power 8 years ago, I worked in the solar industry, and so I've been a longtime solar advocate and have solar on my roof already, and we're excited about that. And so we try and what we've launched is the Solar Club program. And so what it is it's a way that we're trying to help people who are investing in solar and investing in their homes and businesses to gain more value out of their system and gain the most value out of the system as they can, as well as collectively moving towards that mission towards greening Alberta's electricity grid. So firstly, I'll talk a bit about solar PV, and once it's on your roof, like, how does it save you money or earn you money? So you will be saving money right off the bat, because when you get solar on your roof, the usage amounts of your home or business are reduced right away. And so that's going to save you on your usage charges. It's also going to save you on your delivery costs. So the top half of your bill is, how many kilowatt hours you drew from the grid, and that will be reduced. And then below that, you'll have a mix of distribution and transmission charges. And so the distribution charge is usually a mix of a flat rate plus a usage-based charge, where your transmission charge is totally usage-based. And that's all based off the amount you're importing from the grid. So when the less that you're importing from the grid, because your home is producing power now, then those costs are going to be reduced on your bill. And then on most bills, further below that, you'll have these microgen credits. So when your home or business is during the summer days and your home is not drawing a lot of electricity, right? Your solar system produces, your home draws what it can, and then the rest gets pushed out on the grid. And so in that sense, you are a micro generator on the Alberta electricity grid, and you get earned credits for the power that you export out to the grid. The one sort of caveat there is that you're not like a traditional generator where you kind of get the market rate and the spot price throughout the day. The way it works is when you are importing and exporting from the grid, it has to be at the same rate. So here's a visual of it, that like when you are importing from the grid during the night when it's dark, then you're paying 83 cents a kilowatt hour. And then during the day when you're producing and you're exporting out, well, then you're same thing, selling to the grid at that same 8.3 cents a kilowatt hour. And that's just the mechanics of how microgeneration and microgeneration regulation works. So here's an example of what your bill might look like with solar. So this is my system. It's a 2.5 kW system. It's quite old, so it's 14 panels, but they're only 180 watt panels, whereas I bet you panels nowadays are going to be in the 250 to 350 watt panels system. But what you see there is the top chart. So when I'm drawing from the grid, 550 kilowatt hours, and so that's reduced my normal usage. But when I'm drawing from that grid, I'm still paying the regular charge I have. I have transmission and distribution charges and the balance pool charges, but they're less than what they used to be. Typical monthly admin charge, and then you see microgen credit for the same period for pushing out 102 kilowatt hours onto the grid, reimbursed at the same rate at which I purchased at, gives me my microgen credit. And so then and that goes against the entire bill, that microgen credit. So mine's, not those numbers aren't huge, but like I said, mine's a bit of a smaller, older system, and I would like for the Seep to come into my municipality so that I may take advantage of it. But here's just some more numbers for you. So if we say that the Alberta average home uses about 1,000 kilowatt hours monthly, and so that's a pretty standard average. The current sort of annual average, or we run by a 13-month variable rate average these days. The price of electricity on a variable rates is up, so you're looking at 12.83 cents a kilowatt hour. And so if you look at the top numbers there, which would be your monthly usage without any solar power, so you're using 1,000 kilowatt hours, an annual cost of $2,860, $2,860 annually. So let's say you aim for, you're not going to get net zero, but maybe you put 14 to 16 panels on your home, and you're net zero by half. So you're reducing your annual electricity consumption by half. Well, then you've reduced your usage costs. You're reducing those distribution and transmission charges, and you're saving, $1,400 annually in cost, right? So that's a recent, even like any sort of subsidies aside, that's a pretty good amount of money that's back in your pocket after putting solar in your roof. When you are a microgenerator, and like I said, you are buying and selling at the same rate, the rate that you have established between yourself as the microgenerator and your electricity retailer is important because it can determine like the value of your system, really, right? And if you can take advantage of some better rates for when you are in a net positive production, then it adds more value to your system. So what Park Power offers is called the Solar Club, and so you might see other providers that also offer the Solar Club rate around the province. We're all pretty big fans of it, and what it is that we offer two rates and the ability to switch back and forth between them depending seasonally. So during the summertime, depending on the size of your system, but if in the summertime, if you are net positive as far as production, so your home is definitely, the solar on your home is definitely exporting more to the grid than you would be importing, well, then you take advantage of that higher rate so that the value of your export to the grid is going to be greater than your import. Come fall, when the sun starts to go down and your home is going to be drawing more from the grid than it will be exporting, well, then you switch to our low rates of that 8.3 cents, which is like a fair market rate for today's rates. Part of being on the Solar Club as well is we're excited for it, and we're trying to help green Alberta's grid. And so just as another incentive, that when you do sign up for the Solar Club, you get 2% cash back on the electricity that you do import. So even you pay your regular charges, but then we're going to give you 2% cash back on everything you're importing from the grid. Now I'll go over a couple of examples. One's a bigger system, and one's a sort of more traditional system. So this first system here was a lot of panels. So sort of a bigger property and a lot of panels. And then this customer has also worked on really upgrading the efficiencies of their home. So trying to they have a good amount of production, but they're also trying to reduce their usage as much as they can. So numbers from 2021. So last year, this customer pushed out 23,000, almost 24,000, 23,197 kilowatt onto the grid. The average microgen rate, because it swapped back between the high and the low rate, was 24.4 cents a kilowatt hour. So it earned microgen credit earned against their bill was 5,600 plus the cash back of the 2% from what they imported was about $50. If you compare that to the number in brackets, the number of brackets would be what your microgen credit would be if you were on the variable rate for last year. So only about 2,900. So this customer, from being in the solar club, earned 2,700 more dollars last year. So that's a pretty significant for them. Is really going to help their payback on their investment for their system. Example number 2, a little more traditional. So this is a standard Edmonton home. The 5.36 kW on the roof of the home for 16 panels, and then last year they did another upgrade to the system, so 10 panels onto their garage. And so for 2021 they pushed 5,421 kilowatt hours out onto the grid. Their average microgen rate at 22.65, which is pretty good, and so they earned $1,228 in microgen credit plus almost $60 in cash back. If you compare that to, $1,300 compared to only almost $700 of what they would have earned just from being on the variable rate, not to say if you're on a lower fixed rate, but they earned almost $600 more that year just for being a solar club member. So it makes a lot of sense to be diligent about the rate you are setting up with your provider. Just another highlight on some other solar club benefits. So yeah, like I said, the ability seasonally to switch back between a high rate and a low rate. So to gain value out of your system during the summer months when production is up, but also pay reasonable costs through the winter. The bottom point there, like I said, the 2% cash back on all energy imported from the grid, and then just not at any cost to the customer, but when you join the solar club, what Park Power does is we're trying to help the province, and so we'll purchase green offsets for all the for 30% of the electricity that you import from the grid. So when your total import costs, we'll purchase renewable energy certificates on behalf of 30% of that electricity at no cost to the customer. And that's about it for me. Like at parkpower.ca is a great place to find me. Park Power Ltd on social media. But we'll pass it back to Mackenzie, and we will carry on.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your excellent presentations today, Stephanie, Melanie, and Kris. If you wouldn't mind turning on your cameras now, we'll get started with the Q&A. Our first question today is from Bruce, and he is wondering if financing through Seep takes into account the available rebates from the different levels of government, or would we have to pursue those separately?
That's a really good question, Bruce. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, we encourage people to try and access as many different rebates as they possibly can. Through the Seep program, you would have to apply for them separately, so it doesn't fold in unless you're in the City of Edmonton. So once the City of Edmonton program launches, there will be some dovetailing between their HERA program, or their Home Energy Retrofit Accelerator program, and Seep. If you apply for Seep and you're eligible for HERA, I believe the way they're operating it, and again, all of this detail will come out when the City of Edmonton program launches, but they intend to automatically enroll you for HERA if you're eligible and you apply through Seep. But in every other instance, so the Canada Greener Homes program, if you were accessing additional financing in addition to your Seep or another rebate program, it would be separate. So you would have to apply for that separately, but you're welcome to stack all of those things together. Because Seep is a financing program and not a rebate program, we don't retire, or at least most programs, again, because it's municipality specific, most programs are not retiring your environmental attributes or your renewable energy credits. So we're not concerned about you stacking with other programs. We would encourage you to try and get as many dollars as you can in the door, so it actually reduces the amount of financing that you might need for your project.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question is from Christina, and she is asking, if she gets solar but her town doesn't have Seep yet, can she become eligible retroactively once the town gets an active program?
Unfortunately not. Due to some pieces in the legislation, there are pieces like the project agreement that needs to be signed. That is very specific in the legislation that you, in order to be eligible to get Seep financing, you have to sign that project agreement with your contractor. And that's the only agreement that you can sign with your contractor. So it means that if somebody has already gone forward and done a project, they haven't signed that agreement, and so they're not eligible for Seep. So there's a few other pieces as well, but it is intended to reduce barriers for projects going forward, and it will not be active retroactively.
Excellent, thank you. Now I think this question will be best answered by Kris. He says that the guy from the AUC on Wednesday said that solar club plans were likely going to go away soon. Is there a way to lock in before they remove the solar club option?
That's a great question, and that's some good inside information. So
it's actually not entirely accurate. So before everybody freaks out, yes. I actually want to mention what he said. So I had the pleasure of hosting that session, and Fino was saying that that some people have been making more off their solar club than would simply offset their consumption. He was saying that has been noticed, and that because it's been noticed, it will be brought to the attention of the government of Alberta, and that the government of Alberta at some point in the future might consider amending the microgen regulation to address that. But there were no plans to do so at this time that we're aware of. And so Fino was simply speculating on something that he had noticed, which was that some people were making a bit more money than was originally intended by the microgen regulation to offset their costs. So I just wanted to clarify, because I think that was heard differently by some folks than others. And Fino was speculating on some potential future changes. We've also heard through the grapevine a large number of potential changes, but we have no word from the Ministry of Energy that they are in fact changing the microgen regulations. So just wanted to throw that in there before everybody got worried, and then I'll let you take it from there, Kris. Sorry.
No, that's great. That's awesome. That's a great explanation. I think that, what's happening is that I think we're abiding by the microgen regulation better now than we were a few years ago, as far as qualifying systems as a microgen system. So yes, there may have been a few that got in, classified themselves as microgen that were, more than that. They installed more than to offset their usage, is that stuff, the language Stephanie alluded to, right? And so we're all kind of alluding to it now that, like, yeah, don't look to past examples. Perhaps like my first example, as far as that you're going to make money, right? You will be offsetting, you will be saving money. To the idea of locking in a rates, like, no. So our solar club rates, they run on 3-year terms, 3 to 5 year terms. You're in the retail electricity space for rates. It's challenging to find longer than a 5-year term on a fixed contract for this small scale, right? You might find longer terms for utility scale solar, but for microgen, like, you're going to be in that 3 to 5 year rate range right now, which is still a decent timeline, but there's no market mechanisms for longer term price security for a solar provider.
Perfect. Thank you, Kris. This one is for Stephanie again. Is the Seep loan term 25 years, and what is the annual interest rate and also the financing rates?
Okay, super. So I think the financing rates and the interest rates will be the same thing. Ultimately, it's the cost of financing. The term will depend on the upgrade that you're financing. So ultimately, the terms under Seep, the financing terms are tied to that effective useful life or the expected lifetime of your upgrade. If you go to the eligible upgrades list at myseep.ca, it will tell you what the expected useful life of each of those upgrades is. So you'll know that if that's the upgrade you're doing, that would be the term for that upgrade. So for solar specifically, it is set at, I believe the website, it states 25 years currently. There are some municipalities that have capped their terms at 20 years, which is why in the slides I use the range of 20 to 25 years. So it's possible that it might be a 20-year term for solar. The interest rate on that is dependent on the municipal program. So the whole concept behind Seep ultimately is to take advantage of the fact that municipalities can typically access lower interest rates when they borrow money than the average individual can. And so they're able to pass those low rates on through to the participants of the program. So it will depend on where your municipality is sourcing their capital to finance the program as to what the interest rate will be. We expect to see them somewhere between 2 and 5%. Some might be lower. I know municipalities right now that are launching, some of them are receiving those funds from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities at really low interest rates. And so you may actually see lower interest rates than that for the first few years. It'll, again, be dependent on your municipality. So it's worth, if you live in the town of Rocky Mountain House or town of Devon, check out their Seep pages at myseep.ca. Their interest rates are posted there. City of Edmonton, once it launches, their interest rate will be posted as well. So it will be municipally dependent, which I know isn't a concrete answer, but it is hopefully helpful. They should still be pretty low.
Excellent, thank you. Now we have someone asking, where did you get the 1,000 kilowatt hours per month? My installer and utility said it was closer to 7,200 kilowatt hours per year. So about 600 kilowatt hours per month. I think this question's for you, Kris.
Yeah, sure. It's yeah, like I've the Alberta Ministry of Energy put out some numbers that are a little bit older, and they're sort of, yeah, their prediction were 800 to 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. I was just picking 1,000 kilowatt hours to make the math easy also. Yeah, if and that's the average across all Albertans. If you're looking at solar and you're going to look at the numbers and the payback for the system, then you need to look at what your own usage patterns are. But I just was trying to make the math a little easy.
Perfect, thank you. Cameron is asking, if a jurisdiction were to adopt time of use charges, how would this affect participation in Solar Club, since you need to import and export energy at the same rate? Well,
we'll cross that bridge when it comes. Yes, time of use would be ideal for anybody producing solar, because you're producing during the day, and generally market prices are up during the day because demand is up during the day. If time of use ever comes to Alberta, that it'll, I guess that would be like the customer could maybe choose to follow time of use and follow the spot market price and be kind of a participant in the data pool and the electricity pool of the Alberta electricity grid, or they would choose to kind of play the averages like they do currently, right? Like when you're choosing a solar club rate or fixed rate, you're playing the average of the market rate over your billing period, essentially. Time of use would be like, on every hour you would need new rates. And so that's a lot more data, a little more complicated. The utilities and the distribution companies aren't ready to upgrade all their infrastructure for that yet. But if it comes, we'll kind of cross that bridge then, I think.
Excellent, thank you, Kris. Allison is asking how homeowners can coordinate or stack programs for financial help benefits, such as the City of Edmonton, rebate program, CMHC, and Seep. There seem to be a number of things, but are they stackable, and how can you coordinate them most efficiently and effectively?
That's a great question. Melanie, do you want to speak to that first as to stackability with CMHC products? Because that I don't know about. I know about the other ones, but
for sure, mine's a super easy answer. We don't really dig into that as to what other programs you've accessed. Where it's key for us is that you've paid mortgage loan insurance premiums, and you're within that sort of 2-year time period. You can have however many other programs and still get that rebate from the insurer.
Super, thanks. And I guess similarly on the Seep side of things, we are not checking to see whether you're accessing funds from other places. We encourage you to absolutely get as many rebates as you can. They are, as I mentioned earlier, separate processes. So you would, if you're planning to apply for Canada Greener Homes, their rebate program, the federal rebate program, you would need to apply for that separately than you would for Seep. And it's a different process. You could use the same home energy evaluation that you get done for both programs, but you need to submit the application separately. And then for any municipal programs that are available, as I mentioned, there is a possibility that Edmonton will streamline their HERA program or their Home Energy Retrofit Accelerator, which is their rebate program, with their Seep applications. So that would make it a little more efficient, but there aren't very many other municipal rebate programs. There are a few municipalities that have within their Seep programs included rebates. So if you apply for Seep and are successful, you would just automatically have your financing reduced at the end. But again, that it's in the terms and conditions for each individual program. So hopefully that's helpful.
Excellent. Thank you both for your response. Now, can Seep use a EnerGuide audit done prior to launch?
Yes, it can. Great question. Depending on the program, again, different municipalities have slightly different criteria, but version 15 is the standard across the board. If it is a version 15 home energy evaluation, it can be used for Seep. For a couple of the programs, it has to be completed after April 1st, 2020. So we've aligned that with the Greener Homes program and their eligibility criteria. But yeah, you can, as long as you haven't completed any energy upgrades on your home after getting that home energy evaluation, you can use the same one for applying for Seep.
Excellent, thank you. Now, we also have a question, and I think this one is best answered by Kris. What is the best way to know when you should swap between your summer and winter solar club rates?
Monitor your usage and production. Like most solar systems now come with pretty good monitoring. Most of them have pretty good web applications that you can monitor from your phone or from your computer, and you can see how much your system is producing. Sometimes it'll keep track of what you're importing from the grid as well. But like I guess when you figure out a net gain, so where the amount that you're pushing out onto the grid is going to be greater than you're importing from the grid. Again, that's going to be different for everybody, but spring and fall are general times. Figure out when you are producing more than you are importing, and that's a good time to get on a higher rate and get some more value.
Great, thank you. And now, Stephanie, I think you might have already touched on this, but with the Canada Greener Homes grant offering a $5,000 rebate for solar, can you also get financing through Seep?
You can, absolutely. You can access both. They're just separate application processes. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And then that's the same with CMHC, Melanie?
Sorry for the applicate. I missed that.
That's all right. So the question was, with the Canada Greener Homes grant offering a $5,000 rebate for solar, can you also get your financing, the CMHC financing?
The rebate, yes, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. Perfect. And now, can Seep programs be accessed by condo buildings?
The $1 million question. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes is the short answer. It depends on the municipal program. So, and it would depend on whether you're applying as an individual unit or the entire condo building. So there are, it's worth checking the terms and conditions of your individual municipal program. Some of the residential programs that are launching right now have a criteria that the residential component of Seep is only available to low-rise residential properties. properties. And so a condo might be excluded because of that, but there is commercial Seep is expected to launch later this year in some municipalities. And so a condo could be eligible under the commercial Seep program. So if you're not eligible under residential, there will be programs coming in some municipalities in the future to sort of accommodate for those other building types. So it's worth checking the terms and conditions again of your local Seep program to just confirm what types of properties are eligible to participate. It is worth noting too, sorry, just to add that if you are in a condo and the upgrades that you're planning to do impact shared facilities or shared portions of your building, then you do need permission from the condo board or the property owner in order to move forward with Seep financing. So that is an additional piece for condo dwellers.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. And Seep is so popular and people are excited about it. So we have more questions for you. Jacob is wondering if Seep applies to new constructions.
Also a great question. Thanks for that, Jacob. We're also very excited about Seep. So thank you for all of your questions, but it is not currently. So the Seep is available for existing buildings, and the definition of that is anything that is 6 months or older. So it has been built and has been lived in for 6 months or older is the residential definition. There's investigation happening to see whether we might be able to include new builds, but at the moment, the answer is they're not eligible currently under Seep.
Excellent, thank you. And now we have a question from Melanie. She has an R2000 home, or sorry, Mary Ellen has an R2000 home, and she's wondering, could a newer owner use the original Hot 2000 evaluation for the evaluation?
So I think I'm understanding this right, that Mary Ellen has an R2000 and then the next potential buyer, can they use her original certificate? I think, yes.
I think
So if it's less than 5 years old, that original certificate on that newly built R2000 expires after 5 years, and you'd have to get it recertified, through whichever avenue in order to requalify. So if it's less than 5 years, that new buyer can use your existing certificate. After that, they would have to get recertification.
Perfect, thank you. Now we have so many questions still in the Q&A box, but we only have time for a few more in this formal Q&A period before we move over to the informal Zoom meeting. So if we don't get a chance to answer your question, don't worry, there's still that Zoom meeting, and I encourage you to move over there to ask your question. Now, Diane is wondering, if she were to switch from TELUS to Park Power, do you offer the same quality of internet service, Kris?
That depends on where you live. So Park Power's internet runs on the TELUS network, and so we are like we're an independent internet service provider running on the TELUS and the Shaw network. So sometimes TELUS will allow us to sell signals that are as fast as theirs, and sometimes they won't. If you're in a newer neighborhood, then there's a better chance where with upgraded TELUS infrastructure. If you're in an older neighborhood, then you may not. But it's sort of it depends on where you live. And it depends on what TELUS is willing to let us sell.
Excellent, thank you. Then a follow-up question from a previous question you answered, Kris. How much notice is needed to swap their solar club rates?
So for most of our, I guess, any sort of account changes, we like 10 days notice. But it will, like if people are following the chat, Gordon Howell's got some great info on when to make the switch, and it does have to do with your meter read date, because the invoices and the price you're paying is determined on the day of your meter read date, and so we like a bit of time before that date is. So yeah, I think I'm answering the question correctly, but just sort of keep an eye on things, and a week's notice is reasonable.
Perfect, thank you. Some more questions about Park Power. Mary Ellen is wondering if you give donations to CKUA, and how does that work?
Yes, so this is getting a little off topic, but that's fine. Park Power, yeah, so we have a profit sharing program. So when a customer signs up with us, I have a roster of 9 charities, that I will take 10% of Park Power's profits from that customer's electricity bills and share it with the charity. And so yes, CKA Radio Network is one of those charities. So yeah, I guess the way it works is, when your bills come in, I keep track of how much profit I made off your bills, and I share it with the charities at the end of the year.
Perfect. Thank you, Kris. And this will be our last question in the formal Q&A. Can you explain, Stephanie, the break-even time of Seep financing cost?
Highly variable. It will be very, very dependent on the type of upgrade that you complete, the term of your financing, the interest rate that the municipality is offering, your electricity or natural gas rates. So there's not just one break-even time as with any upgrade that you do. I would recommend that you have that conversation with your contractor or your contractors that you're selecting to do those upgrades, at least from a base stand of, if you weren't accessing Seep financing, what would your break even be? And then you'll have to do the math of whatever your interest rate is and the term that you're accessing through your municipality's Seep program to figure out how Seep would impact that as well.
Excellent, thank you. So you guys have answered the most questions, I think, this week in the formal Q&A with a whole 25 questions answered. Lorraine will be posting the link for the Zoom meeting in the chat now. I encourage everyone, all our participants, and of course our panelists, to move over there. And I want to thank you all for joining us today in this formal session. And thank you again to Park Power for sponsoring the session. Thank you. I'll see you all over in that Zoom meeting.